Guys, so yesterday I was working on the part of the lining where our zipper will go, and I slept on it, which often results in a change of plan. And while it's not really a change of plan, it's just kind of an upgrade to the system. I wanted to show that. So I've already done this one, and because excuse me, wow, that came out of nowhere. Because I am using a lace zipper, this one I'm going to go ahead and apply the way you would normally apply a lace zipper, and that is on the top of, you know, where this part is visible, not just the zipper portion. So it changes what we're doing just a little bit. So we have our two top pieces that this little guy is going to sit on, not like this, but something similar to that. So yesterday I had folded up some of the raw edge, and I decided I wanted to change the way I did that so that I would have prettier corners. They're not just your typical folded in. So I'm going to kind of redo to this one what I did to this one here. Now normally when you fold in, you just fold and then you fold down on top. And let me get a piece of darker fabric to put down so you can actually see what I'm doing. Let's see if this will work. I think it's a bit of a color difference here. It might help. Pull that off. Okay. So we're just going to kind of start over. I might need to get some more water. Yes, I do. So hold on just a mo. I have some right here. Awesome. I'm trying to do about 15 things at once today. Got some things I need to pack up for Goodwill, and my sister's cows got out last night in Alabama, so I was on the phone with her. She and her husband moved half of their herd over to a friend's pasture who does not have cows but has a lot of grass. So cows being cows, you know, they're knee deep in beautiful, beautiful green, lovely grass. And the silly things decided to break through underneath a cable that went across the stream and into the woods right before the big storm hit last night, naturally. So I'm a little tired after being up and worried, and trying to keep my sister from freaking out too much. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just going to fold down a short end, and I'm going to come around here and do the same thing on the other side. And I'm trying to make these equal. I'm not going to get too fussy and measure. Feel free to do that if you want to. Okay, and then I am going to go ahead and just press down the corner right here, and then do the same thing on the other side. I'm just the corner. I'm not pressing all the way across, but I am making sure that I've got this folded into and underneath this. Okay, now now that I have those two corners, I'm going to open this up, and I have a little tiny triangle right here where this and this met. So I'm going to take that triangle and fold it in on top of itself. And then I'm going to fold the short end and then the long end, so that I kind of have an encased little seam. So I'll open it up and re-show you. So I bring the triangle in, I fold this short end down, and then I fold the long edge down. And that really keeps those little raw edges and fibers from coming loose. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here on the other side that I did. So short end goes first, and then the long end edge, this is the long edge, goes down on top of that. And then I just repress to make sure everything is staying. And then I can just take those two corners and use that to measure how much I need to press down on the long edge. If you don't have one of those little sharp hot knife type irons, be careful but when you use a larger iron, because you can hurt yourself with all that steam. Okay, so I have this and this. Now I'm just going to fold just a little part, not the whole thing, but just a little part of the edge right here, and give that a press. And then flip it over, fold it down, and give that a little quick press. I'm flipping it back over because this side is now going to be cooler to work with than that one. Now I've got that little tiny triangle right here. So I'm going to fold it down. I'm going to fold the short edge, this right here, on top like this. And then this one, oops. Hard to do standing up holding it like this, but I will try. I'm going to fold the long edge over on top of that and then give that a press. Sometimes you have you've taken too much of a seam allowance, and when you've folded and pressed, you may have to readjust and take just a little bit slightly different amount up here. But because it's not going to show, nothing you're doing has to be perfect unless that's just what makes you happy. And if having it perfect makes you happy, and that's what you want it to look like. Now obviously if you were doing this for a quilt, it would show and you would want that perfection. But for this, or say for example you're doing furniture reupholstery or something like that, none of these little seams are going to show, or edges are going to show in this application, so they don't have to be perfect. What we're trying to achieve is on the outside, when we fold this, we want the corners to look finished. And that's what we've achieved. So now we're going to fold this in half. We wouldn't do it this way if we were following the directions about the zipper on the pattern, but because I'm using a lace zipper, and I am now trimming these little whiskers that have popped out over all the excess work I've been doing on this little piece. Anyway, but because we're doing a different type of zipper installation by using a lace zipper, this guy right here, I need to make sure that these edges are a little bit more polished and finished looking, and that's why I am doing it this way. And I'm going to be very careful, make sure I have all my edges squared up, lined up, and then press. And obviously, if I'm off a little bit, I can just repress. But sometimes it's nice to get it perfect on the first go. I can see I was off a little bit, but what I'm going to do is flip this over and line everybody up on this side as well. Steam is your friend in this particular case. Just make sure you don't burn yourself. Steam burns are the worst. Okay. And there we have our little zipper piece. We've got two that match up. And what's going to happen now is, ooh, the other piece is in here. I don't remember if I filmed this part last night. I'll go back over this. You can take your pattern piece and put it onto the top of your lining piece, like I'm doing here. And then take an omni grid or just a measurement underneath. There's a placement line on the pattern piece right up here at the top. So you're going to put this down, and to get the measurement that you need, you can take your omni grid. I think I'm just going to redo this. Obviously, I used a friction pin. Okay, I've already redone the one on the honeycomb, so now I'm going to redo this one, and this is the method that I prefer. So I'm going to put my pattern piece on here and pin it just in a couple of spots down on the lower edge. Make sure everything is where it's supposed to be, and it is. It is not. Always good to check, double check. So, okay, there we go. It's on the bottom edge of the piece of fabric that I've cut. There we go. Now I can pin just a couple spots across the bottom here, making sure. Okay. Now it shouldn't shift because I've pinned it on both sides. So I'm going to take this right here, underneath the pattern where that line is, get that lined up, squared up in the right place, and then I'm holding down the omni grid and moving the pattern piece out of the way. And now I will draw the line where this, it's called the placement line, and it's where you're going to put your top. Okay, that looks good. All right, I need to put these pins in a different spot, so I'll quickly do that. I'm trying to plan a garage sale very quickly. I have I'm trimming away some of this excess Warm and Natural adhesive interfacing. It's just a little bit too big around the edges here. But anyway, I'm trying to plan this garage sale for not this weekend, which is Easter 2019, but the following weekend. I want to hit it right before prom because I have a lot of prom dresses that my girls sort of abandoned when they got married and moved away from home. And I just don't have space to hang on to all these. They're beautiful dresses, and I'm planning to sell them for $5 each. I feel like at that price, young ladies can afford to buy, for the most part, a designer dress, but they are a little bit invested, and maybe will appreciate the fact that they've now purchased a designer gown for $5. However, if I do meet a young lady who is in dire straits and needs a prom gown and doesn't have one, we'll certainly work something out. Okay, so I have my lining two pieces that are marked for the top, and what we do is we take the folded under edges and line that up. It will not look the same as the pattern instructions because I'm using a different zipper. Try to remember the pattern is going to tell you something completely different than what we're doing right now. So anyway, I'm going to line up that right there, and I'm going to pin it with my pins running horizontally. I stabbed myself a couple of times last night doing this, so I just want to remind you to be careful. My pins are super long glass head pins, so I can take like almost two stitches, so to speak, with my pin, which means in this case I only need 3. So I have 1, 2, and here's the final pin. I'm going to go in the fabric and then back through the fabric and then in the fabric and then back through the fabric, almost as if I'm sewing. I need to make sure I'm not using a bent pin because I don't want it to be down too low. And back up. Okay. So I've got 3 pins holding the folded over edge, and then what's going to happen is this is going to fold up like this, and the zipper will be attached right along the top of this little B top like this, and the same thing will occur on the other side. And obviously for this bag, if you wanted to, you could use 2 different pieces of fabric, a contrasting set of fabrics. And I'm putting I forgot to mention, I'm putting my top between the dots on my lining pieces. Okay, so sort of stitch it with a pin here. And the tendency is to run your hand this way, and I kept hurting myself on the end because as I'm pinning right-handed, the sharp pointy end is going to the left, and that's why I was hurting myself. I'm kind of trying to be more aware of that this morning because that was quite painful and unnecessary. I can't stand unnecessary pain, I'll tell you. Especially if it's my fault. That's ridiculous. Okay. So then this would go this way, this goes this way, and they're facing like this. It's really strange how this seems so odd, but it's because it doesn't have the side, and that's what makes it kind of weird looking. But anyway, so our zipper is going to sit like this. I'll try to hold it for the visual, which I'm having trouble doing. But anyway, so this will fit here, this will fit on this side, and that's the top. Okay, so in order to get this where it needs to be, we're going to look at our instructions. I may actually, yes, I do. Wow, I'm glad I thought of that. Doing it in this method, I actually have to shift my line up because this is going to come across a little bit farther when it's on the top edge. Otherwise, this is just going to be a raw edge. So I need to move, because I'm doing it in this fashion. Let's see, if I moved it up, how much would I need to move it up by? Yeah, because that's not going to be strong enough. So if I move it up half, let me think. Well, here's a conundrum, huh? If I were pretending that I were doing it in this method, I will just pin it and see what I get on the other end. That's what I was struggling with last night. I kept thinking that's not going to work. so that's not really it either. Not exactly sure what I'm supposed to do with this raw edge. So this is going to require some investigation as I go along. Uh-oh. Ah. Oops. Well, okay. Place lining having upper edge of bag having, oh, so my edges would be even. That's right. I think I'm gonna have to do sort of a one of those, let's pin it and see what this looks like. Which you typically end up having to do when you're redesigning or designing something. You kind of have to do that check it out mode. Aha! I've discovered something. This isn't going that way. This is going this way. Okay then. Oh, right. I get it now. So the binding, I'm glad you're here to discover this with me as I go. I'm actually upside down on my top edge, I think. No, I'm not. I feel like I'm upside down, but I don't think I am. But I do feel like I am, so I'm going to switch that around. But that's right. So there's a binding that goes all the way around the top that we've not cut out yet. Okay, perfect. So what I need to do, since I'm making all these changes, is I need to flip this. I need to flip it. Okay, that needs to come this way, so my zipper is sitting on the folded edge. Okay, and that's not what they're showing on the instructions, but that's because I'm doing my zipper. Now, if you were doing your zipper, you would do it the other way, unless you're using a lace zipper, as I am. Okay, perfect. So in this particular case, and I really wanted my, the top that my zipper is going to be sitting on to be strong enough to accept the zipping action, you know, over and over and over again. So while an inserted zipper, like they call for on the pattern, would only need a kind of a double width, this is going to require a little bit more since it's a sit on top lace zipper. So this is exactly how that needs to go. And I'm going to stitch along this line right here. So I need to replace this one on the opposite side, like this, keeping it centered between the dots where the pattern was. Okay. And then pin it into place. And that will be the other side. And I didn't double stitch, so I need to take one more pin right here, ouch, right there, and one more pin right there. Oops, that one's bent. Okay. And we'll fold that down, see how that looks. Perfect. Okay. All right, so the next step then for us is to stitch this into place. Our zipper will then be attached this way once we get this sewn on. We'll do this way. I may end up folding the raw edge under here. I think I probably will. Yeah, because I can put that all the way across. And remember, this zipper, if you're interested in the size, from the very end of the tape to the very end of the tape is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 1/8 inches long. The zipper portion from the pull to the stop is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 7/8 inches long. So, you know, you can make adjustments based on what you're, you know, what you want to use this for. So I'm going to stitch along here and stitch along here, and then I'm going to apply my zipper, and we'll see what that looks like when I come back. Okay, so in the process of doing my zipper, I realized I wanted to show you guys how to make a little piece to cover. It's basically, you're going to hold on to it. I don't know what it's called. I'm going to just call it a hold tab for your zipper. There's probably a technical term I'm not really familiar with. So what I've done is I've cut a little 2.5 by 2.5 inch square out of one of the fabrics. I'm going to try to keep it as whisker free as I can. Just trimming these off. I need to cut 2.5 by 2.5. One for the front part of the zipper, or the top part where the zipper pull is, and one for the end of it. And then I've just sort of folded in all the raw edges. And to give a little bit of stability to this, I'm going to use some of my press-on tape, if I can find the end. There it is. Okay. So I'm just going to cut a length of this, and then press that and cut what I don't need off, and then go back and press another piece here, cut what I don't need, and then just put one in the middle. My sewing machine will happily sew through these little pieces of tape. I am going to pull the backing off so that, because it's double-sided, it's not going to hold this. I mean, there's no way you could use this rather than sewing. The only reason I'm doing it is because it's a small piece of fabric and it's kind of fiddly, and I like having a little bit more stability to these little small pieces. The backing removes fairly easy, but if you have trouble, I found if you just rub it with your thumbnail on the end, that kind of helps pull it away from itself. So if you're having an issue with pulling that backing off, that's my solution to that. Okay, now I'm going to fold however I had it. There we go. And then just kind of, it is sticking a little bit to itself, but in the long run this won't hold, so there, you do have to stitch this. Okay, I'm going to flip it over and kind of give it a little press, and then check it, make sure it's going to fit. And I'm using this edge down here, either one of these, not this way but this way, and I'm folding it over the top of the end of my zipper, and I will just stitch once I get it all lined up the way I want it to look. I'll just stitch around and stitch across the bottom, and then when I need to open the bag, I'll be able to hold on to this for, you know, for strength for my zipper. So that one is done. I'll just press it. Okay, and then pin it. And then make another one for the end where the zipper pull is. And I'm just kind of marking with my friction pen, sort of a sloppy 2.5. So there's that mark right there. By 2.5. I can always, you know, make another one if this one's not big enough, or if it, you know, if it's just not functioning the way I want it to. Okay, press those lines out and then pull it off, and then press. And of course you can always use a different type of fabric too. If we wanted to use like a small piece of leather for this application, that would be appropriate for a zipper. I don't happen to have any leather. Alright, now I'm going to check it for size. Fold and press. I might put some of that tape for a little bit of stability. I think I will. Anything involving a closure on like a zipper or snaps or snap tape, or I think aside from Velcro, as long as you've got something within to give you a little bit of stability, it really does help. I forgot this tape is terrible. Ha! Terrible. I've been like the queen of puns lately. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and my dog was chasing